ready to record this book review, but I wanted my nails painted. They look horrifying, honestly. That's the curse of dark nail polish. But I also have a maple who is eating Chain of Thorns. I don't know if this is going to work. Hi. So I wanted to talk about Lightlark because I read it like 2 months ago. And there's no way I can make a real review about it because I have forgotten a lot of what happened. But I did not forget how much hype there was leading up to the release of it or whatever. So if you are not on Book Talk, this book was blowing up like right before its release. But Lightlark is a young adult book written by Aster. She is like 21, 22, 23-ish, which is I think why one of the reasons she got like a ton of attention on Book Talk is because there's a lot of like younger people on there and a lot of young up and coming like authors are kind of making it on there. The book itself is about these different kingdoms and they have to break a curse, and theoretically the best way for them to do that or to put off, you know, the curse taking over their lands is for one of the rulers to die. So every 100 years they come together and they pick who's gonna die, and then whoever does die, like their land also dies with them, is my understanding. I'll be honest, like I was a little detached from this, I think. And the problem was that right before I read it, all the drama happened. If you don't know what I'm talking about, apparently a couple people got an arc of the book and they started trashing it online. And they said it was like not very good and that some of the stuff Alex was putting in her TikToks was not in the book. And so at least what I've heard from that is that she was actively writing another book during that time and she was posting stuff from that, but it was kind of misleading because it really looked like it was from Lightlark. So people were getting really excited about this book that seems to be a little more new adulty, more romancy than Lightlark actually is, because in my opinion there was next to no romance in Lightlark, and that's fine, but it was really marketed as a romance. And it was also marketed, and I believe like the first video I saw about Lightlark, I think was Alex herself saying that it was a mix between the Hunger Games and ACOTAR, which, you know, if you want to go viral on TikTok right now, that's what you would say, because, you know, ACOTAR is like 50% of TikTok, or at least 50% of the TikTok I'm on. I know there's contemporary romance TikTok, but I'm not really over there. I'm more on like the fantasy side of things right now. But when I saw that, I think it rubbed me and a lot of other readers the wrong way. And partially it's because we are so protective over our Sarah J. Maas universe, and because that's a big claim. I mean, they're both giant franchises. Obviously, The Hunger Games has already been put into movies. A Court of Thorns and Roses has been picked up by Hulu, which that's a whole nother can of worms because I think they're gonna water it down and that's gonna suck. But for an author who has published a book before, by the way, she was kind of, I feel like, advertising it as a very like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened type of thing, when she was already published. I think she had a middle grade book out already, like to the point that a lot of people thought she was an industry plant and that all of this marketing was, you know, done by some higher up power. I don't think that's necessarily the truth. I think she actually did go viral, but upon reading it, I can see where she decided it would be a good idea to advertise this as a Hunger Games / A Court of Thorns and Roses, because there is like a games aspect to it. It is a very fight to the death type of situation, and there's, you know, alliances and stuff like that. In my opinion, it wasn't as captivating as the Hunger Games. Very few things are for me, so I didn't love that comparison. And then I think the other comparison just came from the fact that like the courts are very ACOTAR-esque. I think there's like a day court and a night court or something similar. I don't think she actually used the name courts or whatever, but it was almost the same thing, like vibe-wise. And some of them do have like powers and stuff like that. So I can see where she was coming from. Maple, hi. Hi. Anyways, her comparing to ACOTAR seemed a little, I can't find the right word for this, maybe like overambitious. As a writer, I would be very hesitant to compare my books to something that is that big and that popular and in my opinion, that well written. I know there's controversy over whether Sarah J. Maas's writing is like really, really good or if it's just really, really interesting. I just feel like it would have come off better if she hadn't said it was like a cross between the Hunger Games and ACOTAR, because it's like adding those things together into this whole thing that it wasn't. I think it's more like, this is for people who enjoyed reading these two books, and I feel like it would have come off better, because when I first saw that video, it really rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, I don't know why. Part of me was like, you're just jealous. Like, I want to write books. Basically, like, swallow your pride, Katelyn. Like, it's gonna be fine. But later, I found out that type of thing rubbed a lot of other people the wrong way, so I was like, okay, it can't just be me then. And then something that I don't think I've ever seen happen in, like, the book universe before happened. People who got the arc started saying it was really, really bad, like, horrible. And I'm pretty easy to please book-wise, so I figured like if I read it, I'd probably still like at least enjoy it. There's very few books that have come out of saying like I didn't like any part of it, it was horrible. Like I've never had that experience, just because I usually find something in the story that I like. And all these people started coming out saying it was bad, and then like overnight, the book had more reviews than copies that were out. It had not been released yet. And all these people who said they had an arc were leaving these terrible, terrible reviews on Goodreads. And it went from like having 5 stars from like the first couple of readers to like 1.5 overnight or something crazy like that. It was bad. And the reviews were really, really bad. And some of the lines that were quoted, they weren't the best writing. And some of them particularly made fun of the fact that the sun looked like a yolk was said multiple times. In my opinion, that imagery did come back around later in a way that worked well with the story. I think BookTok took that one a little far because they didn't like Alex. Some people didn't like the book. Some people had only read, 5 lines of it because somebody posted something about it, and they decided this book isn't good and I'm gonna give it a bad review, which I don't think is fair, honestly. That's someone's career and that wasn't really okay to do. But I was frustrated because I feel like people who read the book overall decided it was meh to not their thing. But there were a couple of book talkers that I really, really liked that were, and I still like them, but they were coming out with these rave reviews, like how good the book was. People saying it was the next ACOTAR and stuff like that. And in my opinion, I think they probably were paid. And that's fine, like, especially people trying to make it onto BookTok and make it their full-time job. Like, you would want to take the money. And like, I can completely understand where that's coming from, and I don't fault them necessarily. Like, I prefer completely unbiased reviews, obviously, everyone does. But in my opinion, when I see TikTokers who take money for, promotion and stuff like that, I usually, especially if I've been following them for a while, I usually get pretty excited for them, because like that's really cool that they're going to be able to hopefully make their creative content their career. So I tried not to take that one too harsh, but it did feel a little misleading when people were saying it was so good and most people are saying it was okay. Here's the thing that I think went really, really wrong. I think it ended up on the wrong side of BookTok. I really do, because it ended up on the slightly older side. ACOTAR is not young adult. It's not. It's new adult, and that's where a lot of people saying that like it's the new ACOTAR gave people the wrong idea of what the plot was going to be like, what the romance was going to be like, all of those things. We came in with a different idea, and then when it wasn't there, it felt lacking, whereas I think it was more appropriate for younger readers. She's had a middle grade book out before, and I feel like if I had been 14 and I'd gone in not knowing these bad reviews, I would have liked the book more than I did now, because to me it felt a little, not immature, just like for a younger audience. And like the plot just didn't feel as complicated, and the romance, it kind of went from insta-lovey to just like, how did y'all get so close, question mark? Like, it just didn't always make sense to me the whole time. And that could be because I don't know how long Alex has been writing. Like, maybe that's a thing that grows with her, because I've seen that happen with authors that I really like their first books were okay, and then they get better as they go. And I think that is what should happen. Like, you want to develop as a writer as you keep releasing books and stuff like that. Anyway, all that to say, I feel like this book is just meant for slightly younger readers. It ended up on the wrong side of BookTok. They advertised it incorrectly and just went I feel like for the kill with a novel that is not at that point yet. I read the whole thing, I audiobooked it. The story was interesting and I think the world building was interesting as well, but I just feel like it didn't feel, particularly for like a fantasy type of vibe, it did not feel as intense as our usual stuff. We have like the SJM universe. We have the Cassandra Clare Shadowhunter universe of just like years and years of information and all this world building, and there just wasn't enough room in Lightlark for that, first of all. And then second of all, it just like, I didn't completely even understand the magic system. I remember being kind of frustrated, Maple, at some points because it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, where did this come from? Like, what, who is that? I don't know if I zoned out during parts of the audiobook or what happened, but like parts of it just didn't feel completely connected, or I was not sure what was happening, particularly towards the end. There is like a big moment. There is a big twist, and I will give it that. I didn't see something coming. There's this kind of big magical moment situation that I just did not follow. Like, I finished that book being like, what happened exactly at the end there? And that's not always horrible, because I feel that way about Sarah J Maas books sometimes. Yeah, Sarah J Maas books, they have their moments where I'm like, what is happening? What are we even talking about? But with this book, there was not enough background and not enough character for me to make it through those confusing moments, or to feel like I sort of understood, because I didn't all the way. That being said, it sold a crap ton of copies, partially because of the drama, partially because people just wanted to read it, partially because they advertised the heck out of it, which means I think it could end up being a movie or something like that. I don't see it doing well as a TV series unless it was like a limited Netflix thing. If they make it into a movie, I think it could be good. The visuals are strong, in my opinion. I was able to get really good pictures in my brain of where we were, and it would be a super interesting world to see on the screen. And I think, you know, in a writer's room, they could probably clean up some of the parts that were hard to understand. I'll go see it. Like, I think it could, if done correctly, be very beautiful, at least visually, and I think they could amp up some of the character development and some of the friendships and stuff like that. Overall star rating, I'd probably give it like a 3. I tend to rank higher anyways. I know some people for it, they put it really low, but for me a 3 is like a meh, it's fine book. I don't know if I'm more leaning towards book talk, writer talk, creative talk, whatever. I have a TikTok now. I will link it in the description below. I think it's just The Great Gatsby, which is what I'm planning to rename this channel. If you read Lightlark, how did you feel about it? If you were involved in the TikTok drama, how'd you feel about it? And if you haven't read Lightlark, are you going to? I'm very interested. Please like this video if you liked it. Click the subscribe button if you want to talk about more book stuff. My name's Katelyn. Thanks for watching. Bye.